Are you on the hunt for some fragrances that are going to make you stand out in the crowd? People are going to turn their heads when you walk by them. They're going to think, oh man, who smells like that? I need to find them so that I can ask them exactly what they're wearing. You could choose to gatekeep, or you can just be a fragrance bro like me and be like, I got you. And I have the Middle Eastern dupe that's even cheaper for that. But today we're going to be talking about 10 fragrances that are going to set you apart and you're going to smell amazing. So if that sounds good to you, stick around, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump right in. What's going on, everyone? It's Eli with Common Sense. I hope you had an amazing week so far. So this is going to be our week, I think 19 in our fragrance rotation series. So we're going to be talking about 10 fragrances that I have been wearing in the past week. So as always, leave down below in the comments some of the fragrances that you've been rocking this week, and I'd love to chat about it. So for Monday, we started off with a really interesting fragrance, and I talked about this one in my last video. This is from the house of Barrett fragrances. This one is called Bowline, and so this is going to be a twist on Xerjoff's 40 knots. Now, it's kind of strange because when I first bought this and I sprayed this on my skin, I thought this smells probably 90% identical. It was almost a one-to-one. Now, since the bottle's matured a little bit, I feel like it's got a little bit more vanillic, but it still has that nice, rich, kind of warm, radiant quality that still smells aquatic, but you get a nice woodiness, a smokiness, and it just doesn't smell like anything else out there, really, apart from that 40 knots DNA. So if you're looking for a bit of a vanillic spice with some powderiness and just a really complex fragrance profile that smells luxurious and definitely high-end, then definitely check out Barrett Fragrances Bowline, because it's one of the best 40 knots twists that I've smelled so far. Now for Tuesday, I decided to go for another one. This is from an indie fragrance house. I actually did a review up here that you can check out for this fragrance house. I reviewed a bunch of the fragrances from them, but this is from Warren and Haggard, and this one is called Heaven or Hell. This is going to be a parfum extrait. It is surprisingly strong and it lasts a good 10 hours or so, if not a little bit longer, but I absolutely love these bottles. They stand tall, they're proud, they're sleek, and they have these really cool artistic caps that really look awesome on your shelf. But this is going to be inspired by Jo Malone's Myrrh and Tonka, and it smells very similar to that. It's definitely got that really nice myrrh, that really cool Tonka vanilla, and that really nice musk and the lavender in the opening. But it also has a little bit of that almond in there that makes it smell slightly gourmand, a little bit nutty, but it's just a smooth, creamy almond, and it's not going to be like super in your face. It's just going to be a very well blended and just super easy to wear fragrance. And again, it's not going to smell like everyone out there. And if you want something that's kind of vanillic, powdery, almost like a powdery spiced donut, then definitely check this one out. Check out Warren and Haggard Heaven or Hell, and I also have an affiliate link down below if you want to check it out and support the channel. And then in the afternoon, this one is really cool. This is from Swiss Arabian. This is their more high-end kind of niche offering, and this one is Essence of Casablanca. Now this is from their Cities collection, and I've heard that this is basically the original Casablanca but updated and in an extrait de parfum concentration. But oh my gosh, does this stuff smell good. It's like a caramel sweet gourmand apple and like a grape. So it's almost like a fresh fruit, but you also have some musky vanilla and some caramel in there that make it smell slightly tart, kind of fruity, but at the same time very warm and kind of musky. For the evening, I think this is going to be perfect for that. I almost want to say that this one leans a little bit feminine, but I've worn it many times in the kind of heat and it definitely projects like crazy. But I think because there is some of those darker notes in there too, guys can definitely pull it off. But I imagine that, you know, if you want to attract the women, then this is going to be something slightly familiar, and I think it's going to be something that'll definitely pull in some compliments. I know I've had a couple people comment when I've worn this one, and that one is Essence of Casablanca from Swiss Arabian. Definitely slept on, so definitely be on the lookout for this one and the other Cities collection fragrances. Wednesday morning, I decided to go with a niche fragrance. I wanted to feel good about myself. I wanted to have something that would make me productive throughout hump day. And you already know, this one is Initio's Oud for Greatness Neo. I've talked about this one a couple times, but there's something so mysterious and alluring about this fragrance DNA. It smells so irresistible. Like, it definitely has that same vibe from the original Oud for Greatness, but it also reminds me of Parfums de Marly's Sultan. So it's got that really nice kind of spicy vibe. It's definitely oudy, but it's a smooth oud. It's not going to be a fecal in your face oud, but I absolutely love the lavender, the bergamot, and some of the other musky kind of sweet notes that are in this, because it's a little bit vanillic and definitely powdery. It's definitely a more easy to wear version of Oud for Greatness, and if you like Sultan or you want like a slightly creamier version of that that's a little bit more lactonic, then this is a beautiful fragrance. That one is Oud for Greatness Neo by Initio. I also forgot to mention this when I was recording, but I wore this fragrance to work, and I remember one of my coworkers walked by my office and actually came in through the door and said, "You smell really good. I just wanted to come by and see what that smell was." And it's Eli's cologne. So I thought that was kind of funny. When it wasn't super strong to my nose, they could still smell it even just walking by my office. So sometimes you can go a little bit nose blind and people will definitely notice how you smell. And then in the afternoon, I wore this one. This is Nabeel's Crown of Emirates, and I just talked about this one in my last video that I uploaded, but man, this stuff smells so rich and so complicated. It's got a beautiful spice in there. It's got a super strong saffron. So if you love saffron spice, that slightly rubbery spice, it smells very saffron heavy. You also have some musk in there. It's kind of floral at the same time, so it's almost like a clean, dirty oud, if that makes sense. So you have all these clean florals, it's musky, you got the saffron spice, but it also has a little bit of like a cedar wood and an agar wood note in there. So as it starts on your skin, it's going to be a little bit intense from the spice and the oud, but as it dries down, it becomes a lot more clean, and it definitely still has that woody profile, but it definitely carries over that saffron, and it becomes a little bit more clean. And it's just a really interesting fragrance, and I always feel my mind turning whenever I sniff this one on my skin, but it's definitely complicated, and I think it's definitely worth the price at about that $50 mark. And if you haven't already, definitely check out this fragrance and some of the other ones from Nabeel's collection. This is Nabeel's Crown of Emirates. Now, Thursday, I decided to go with just a single niche fragrance. Sometimes you only need to wear one throughout the entire day because it lasts so long, or you just carry it around with you on your clothes. And this one definitely did that. This is a tiny little bottle of Montale's Arabians Tonka. Now, my goodness, this fragrance smells absolutely amazing. It kind of reminds me of a lot of other fragrances that I have smelled, and not 100% sure which one it might have been in my collection or just sampling it out and about. But this one, it's got a really nice saffron. It's also got some bergamot, some rose, and some other nice kind of sugary tonka and vanilla vibes. But it is definitely a really interesting fragrance if you want something that's sweet. It's a little bit floral and a little bit Middle Eastern smelling. So if you want to dip your toes into the world of niche fragrances, you kind of like Middle Eastern stuff, then I think this is going to be a good direction, because again, it's got some of that floral kind of rose, some musks and amber. And I think it could be right up your alley if you're a fan of the other fragrances that I talk about on this channel. I want to say it's a really good value too. I think you can get it for about $100, and again, it's going to be a nice niche fragrance house. It's going to last you all day, and if you're on the hunt for one of these tiny bottles, I'd recommend sampling these for about 29 or 30 bucks on eBay. So that's also a really cool option if you don't want to spend a ton of money. That one was really nice, and it lasted a good 10, 11 hours, especially on the clothes. It just kind of radiated off of me, and that one is Montale's Arabians Tonka. Now, Friday, I was in the mood for a really nice resinous fragrance, and it's starting to feel like fall sometimes. You know, I know the weather is definitely kind of getting hotter and a little bit cooler depending on the time of the day, but I went with this one for Friday. This is Lattafa's Musamam, and I talked about this fragrance a long time ago. It was one of the first fragrances that I ever featured on the channel. That was a Middle Eastern one that I reviewed, but man, this has a special place in my heart, and I have loved it ever since. This is one of my favorite fragrance profiles from the house of Lattafa, and man, this has such a really interesting kind of rindy tart citrus in the opening. It's like a bitter orange of some sort. You got some saffron and some lavender in there that make it smell a little bit spicy, a little bit waxy. And you also have some beautiful incense akigala wood and some beautiful amber woods in there. It's a little bit smoky, but I think the juice definitely quality is indicative of how this smells. It's kind of radiant. It just glows off of your skin with that incense smoke and that beautiful, beautiful resinous wood in there, and a touch of like a vanillic or a labdanum sweetness with a little bit of a leather touch. But man, does this stuff smell high quality. It's complicated, and again, it doesn't smell like a whole lot of stuff out there. And that one is Lattafa Musamam. And then in the afternoon, I met up with some friends and we just hung out, had a game night, and this was a really fun fragrance to wear. This one is by Jesus del Pozo, and this is just Halloween Man, not the Halloween Man X. This is the purple bottle with the silver cap. Man, is this a really nice, sweet, vanillic, powdery fragrance, and it definitely reminds me of Paco Rabanne's 1 Million, but I feel like this is way better. Again, I have some of my reservations with 1 Million. This one just smells way better. It's kind of like a powdery donut combined with that 1 Million approach. So it's vanillic, it kind of smells powdery, and it has a really, really interesting quality about it that just smells a little bit more high-end and not as in your face and cloying. And so if you like that sweetness from Paco Rabanne, and if you want like a cinnamon lactonic spice or almost like a rice pudding quality combined with that 1 Million, then I think this is definitely going to be easier on the nose, and I wear this one like crazy in this kind of fall weather. And so this one is really good for the price at about $20 to $30, and that one is Halloween Man by Jesus del Pozo. Now yesterday I wore this one a couple times, but I wanted to give it a good honest wearing, and I swear I am going to be doing a full review very shortly. This one is Dior Sauvage Eau Forte. Now, there's been a lot of mixed reviews on this fragrance, and again, I just wanted to give it an impartial wearing all day to see how long it lasted and to kind of see if my initial thoughts had changed on this fragrance. And yeah, this one, it's not as bad as people have been saying. Like when I first sprayed it, it reminded me of mentholated pencil shavings, and it kind of had a little bit of an off-putting vibe to it, but as it sort of dried down and as I wore it, it definitely got a lot better, and I think my nose finally got used to this DNA, and I actually like this one a lot more than I had originally thought. But it's a really nice waxy LMI. You have some of that lavender in there, and it makes it smell a little bit medicinal in the opening, but as it dries down, it smells like a nice kind of vanillic powdery woods, and it's got some depth to it. I will give it that. While it doesn't last the longest, I think it's definitely worth getting your nose on. If you manage to snag it for under retail at about that $120 or $100, I don't think that's too terrible. I mean, there are definitely other designers that are much worse than that, but yeah, this one was kind of fun to wear. It was spicy and kind of sweet, and I did have one of my friends asking what I was wearing because he was like, yeah, I can definitely smell that and it smells really good. So yeah, definitely a compliment pooler. But that one was Dior Sauvage Eau Forte. And then this morning and all day, I wore this Middle Eastern fragrance. This one I also talked about in one of my first reviews, and this is Asdaaf's Majd al Sultan. This is such a cool fragrance bottle. It's got like a velvety touch on the outside, and it just smells so brown, woody, and it definitely reflects the outside bottle. This also smells very complicated, and it reminds me a lot of the By the Fireplace by Maison Margiela, but it's got a little bit of a piney vibe or like a fir kind of Christmassy vibe from the woods that they use in this, but it's also got that really interesting saffron myrrh. You got some smoke and some kind of incense in there, and it just kind of smells slightly like burning leaves. But if you like that By the Fireplace vibe, but you want more of a Middle Eastern spicy saffron take to that with some woods and some resins, I think this is a perfect choice. And you know, I think you can still pick it up for about 20 or 30 bucks, but yeah, you get this really tall 100 ml bottle, and it lasts you all day. I think it was probably about 8 or 9 hours ago that I sprayed it, and I can still smell it on my clothes and on my arms. This is a beautiful, warm, radiant, kind of smoky, just woody fragrance. If you like something that's a little bit more complicated than your traditional designer fragrances that are out there, I still think this one is a masterpiece. And that one is Majd al Sultan by Asdaaf. So that was 10 fragrances that are definitely going to be interesting. They're not going to smell like everything out there. They're going to be a little bit unique, and you know, I think throughout my week these definitely did boost my mood a little bit. They made me kind of confident depending on some of them. I think these are great choices if you're just looking for some variety. Some of these you may have tried before, but some of them maybe not. So if you're interested in checking some of those out, I'll also have links in the description where you can buy those. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing week. You stay safe out there, and you get to just spend the time doing the things that you love. I've been Eli with Common Sense. Until the next time, bye-bye.